here we are. Welcome to the studio. So today I'm going to do a little bit of bird painting. I've lightly sketched out a couple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birds on here. I've just taken these from some reference photos. There's just some shorebirds that we find around the area that I live in. And I've been trying to paint more and more of those animals and places that we find in and around where I live. So I'm just going to give this a go tonight. There's my reference. There's my pictures that I've drawn. I should say I'm using a larger notepad. I'm trying to get it up here. Here it is. This is the Pro Art 12 by 16 watercolor paper, 140 pound, that I picked up at my local community college for a nice price. I'm going to be using my new palette here. It's a limited colors. I've got 2 blues, 2 greens, 2 yellows, 2 reds, and a couple of neutrals and ochres in there. I'm going to be using, I think, my Art Secret brushes. These are made by Dana, I believe it's pronounced. I'm not sure. I think that's right. I'm going to start with a number 2 brush here, and I'm going to try to start at the top a little bit. Let's see. I'm trying to work a little smarter than normal. Normally I would start down here, move up, and then my hands all in everything. I think today we'll start at the top and move down. Basically, if you see me reach over there, that's where my water is. My paints are directly over here, and I think I can get somewhat the reference photo and the paper in the picture. So let's go with that. And when I think I'm able to, I will reach up here and grab the paint so you can see what I'm doing with them. Just doing a little orange mix here. This is cad yellow, pale, and alizarin crimson. I guess maybe I could go down everything I've got here. I tried to get a warm and a cool of all my colors. I don't really have that with my blues. I have a cobalt blue, I think is more of a neutral blue, and then French ultramarine. But I do have cold and warm everything else. This is cobalt teal and hooker's green, Aurelian, cad yellow pale, alizarin crimson, quinacridone red. Then I've got raw umber and burnt umber, and Payne's gray and neutral tint over here. So that's the palette I'm using right now. So I've just made a little puddle of an orangish color. Let's see what I can do with this here. I'm going to put this on his bill. You see my hands shake a little bit in the video. It's because it's pretty cool out in the studio tonight. I would say that right now we're in the, my guess would be mid-40s in the studio. I have the heater on, but it hasn't taken effect yet. It takes, I don't know, about a half an hour or so to really warm up the area, and we are nowhere near that, I can tell you. At the moment, we're still quite cool in here. So what I've done is I've just mixed a little bit of my Aurelian in with that orange color. I want his head, if you look, his head is not too much of a different color than his bill. I just want to make sure it's lightened up a little bit. And down and around, he's got some of those really nice orangish color down underneath here. There we go, down there. And I'm just gonna get some wet. I'm not adding anything or taking anything off of my brush, just wetting it. It's got a little bit of that color still on it. I'm just bringing that up. There we go. And that wing comes all the way out. That orange goes way, let's see, way back in here. Something like that. That's pretty good. I'm going to work this wing. I'm going to leave this wing out for a minute because his neck area here is a little wet. So I'm just going to work on this wing. Just pull that out a little bit. It's mostly white. It's a little bit of this orangey color until we get out towards the end, which of course is covered up by, I think this is an avocat. Not exactly sure. What I'm going to use out here on my wings, I'm going to use a little Payne's gray, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep it a little bit warmer. Make sure it's a little bit warmer, and I'm going to use some of my raw umber here to warm that up a little bit. There we go. Something like that, and I'm just going to pull down in a few places. He's got some big wings out here. Really big wings. If we look, he's got kind of a line that goes here all the way out. So I'm going to just drop some color in here. And I guess I should have looked. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what colors my avocat's head is. So might have a little conflict going on here. Not, well, conflict would be great. What we might have too many complementary colors right there. Or what I'm trying to say is, I hope this head of this bird is not a dark gray or a dark brown. I don't want the colors to match too much. I want to be there to be a difference. Oh, I'm having a hard time talking tonight. Hope you guys understood what I'm trying to say. All right, I got that done. I'm going to let that sit. I'm going to move down here to my seagull. Where is my seagull? Oh, he's got a kind of a light brown head. I should have remembered that. Oh, yes. Seagulls. I love painting seagulls. I never really wanted to paint seagulls. And then I was out and about and discovered that, well, there's only about 10 million seagulls here. And I'm trying to paint more things that I see in the area. And I went, well, I better figure out how to paint a seagull, because with there being this many around, anything I paint, I'm going to have to put a seagull in. And what I found was I actually like painting seagulls. They're fun and they're funny. Yes, they get a rap as being kind of the a sea rat or whatever people call them, but that's fine. They're funny. They hop around and flit around, and a little annoying at times, I will admit, when you're sitting down to have something to eat outdoors and they try to steal your food. That's not so cool. They could cut back on that. That would be all right with me. Just cleaning my brush to get a little bit of paint off of it. I want to go right along this edge and make part of this top a nice soft edge. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to get some of it off. It looks like this paper tonight is really soaking in this paint and giving me a hard edge very quickly. I might have to wet the paper before I do anything. I didn't like how his head's coming along here already. Maybe I can get a different brush. These mop brushes are great for putting in water. I love the feel. I love the look of these. But if you have to take any any kind of paint off with these, they're difficult. They just don't. They're not made for that. They're nice and soft. And anytime you touch down in the water, or the bristles bend right away. Makes it really tough. Okay, I'm gonna take, let's do this. I like Payne's gray and a little bit of French ultramarine on my wings. There we go. It's a nice gray for that. And if I need to warm it up at all, I'll just grab a dab of the raw umber and warm that up. Let's see. This guy's wings. Come down here. A little bit of white at the end. Up like that. That's the basic outline of the wing. Yes, of course I cheated a little bit. I, of course, had it drawn there. I'm not trying to freehand this, you saw. And then a little bit darker underneath here. His tail is a little bit darker. For that, I'm going to add a little bit of neutral tint. And I'm going to come back to my Payne's gray. Right down here. Something about like this. I think I'm going to extend this down a little bit longer. There we go. There's a basis for a good seagull wing right there. I like that. This I'm down here. I'm going to make it a little bit warm. There we go. I think that's the start of a really nice seagull. Oh, you know what? While we're here, I have a little bit of this orange left on my palette. I think I'll just give him a little bit of color on his beak here. If I can do that. I hope my head wasn't in the way. My head might block out the light here. I'm not sure. I'm working with a fairly new setup in the studio. I'm trying a number of different things. I'm tired of the battery running out in my camera and having a terrible time. Remember, you charge it and then they don't hold the charge for all that long, and then the video only goes for 30 minutes, and I'm like, I gotta do something else. So I have a different camera that's actually hooked to my computer over here, and I'm hoping that that's gonna do, it's gonna hold up for me a little bit better. Let's see, what am I going on to? This guy here. Here we go. Oh, he's got a nice gray head and some interesting colors over here. I'm going to drop down a size. I'm going to go down to a size 1 and paint him, or get started on him anyways. And I think I'm going to stay with a Payne's gray and really warm that up with some of my raw umber. And I'm just still working in that same little area. And I think I'm looking at the picture and I'm looking at this. I can work with this. Let's see, let's see, I can put it about like that. I think you'll be able to see that. But I want to make this warmer because I know that, I've got to make it warmer still. Because I know that I've got this wing from my pelican back there. That will teach me to combine pictures into one. I just sat down and drew this. I thought it'd be a fun thing to draw and put all in one. If you've seen any of my Instagram stuff lately, then you know, as I've been sketching things, just to break it up a little bit, I've been putting multiple animals together in the same paintings. Just like I said, just for fun. It seemed like something fun to do. Just break up the monotony of painting one singular thing all the time. All right, so I'm working a little bit of ultramarine blue in here. That wasn't the right color for me, and I'm hoping that this is going to work out. Again, I'm trying to, now that I know this paper is not going to work for me right now, I'm going to try to work a little faster so I don't get a hard edge. Let's see, it's got some kind of a lighter patch up here, and then this darker patch. This darker patch is just pure Payne's gray for right now. I'll probably add a little something extra into that on our next go round with this. For the time being, just Payne's gray. He's got a couple of feathers that come out like this. That one got really green. The mix of that Payne's gray and that raw umber made it a little greener than I wanted. This tail that comes out. I always got a little bit of shadow on underneath here. I'm just going to try. It's pretty blue-gray. I'm just going to go with a little ultramarine here for the minute. If we have to warm it up on our next go-round, we'll do that. Get right up in there. Just spread that. Come on, be nice to me. There we go. I hope everybody else talks to themselves while they're doing their paintings like I do. I don't want to be the only one who talks to himself while he's painting. That'd be a little odd. I'm going to leave him be for the time being. Let's come down and let's come down to the bottom here and take a look at our plover. Is this a snowy plover? I think that's a snowy plover. Here it is. He's got some gray on the top of him, a black bill. I'll turn this off to the side here so we can see what he looks like. He's got all these individual feathers up here, and I don't really want to paint individual feathers. Not what I'm feeling like doing right now, but you know what I'm going to do? Let's do this. I've drawn a line in here where his feathers on the top, I guess the camouflage, I guess is what it really is. The camouflage on the top kind of stops, and the white feathers underneath start, but given I had trouble with the other birds, I think I'm going to wet him all together. There we go. And then let us see if this works. All right, a little bit of gray on top. A little bit of that umber color maybe on there. Let's get those to mix a little bit. And I think, you know, that's going to dry just a little bit lighter than it is. I'm not trying necessarily to get everything in here perfectly. I'm going to leave a couple of little spaces here. There's a tail. I'm going to leave a couple little spaces in there, and hopefully what happens, let me darken a couple of spots. I'm just going to drop some spots in here. Maybe when we're done, I'll give that mottled complexion like his feathers have. There we go. I think that one's pretty simple. I'm going to leave that like that for now, and I'm going to come over to these guys. I have no idea. I thought these were some kind of seagull at first, but I'm not exactly certain what they are, but they're funny, and so I'm going to give them a shot. They are in shadow and much bluer than everything else, and to be honest, I'm a little afraid that it's just going to be all blue and all shadow. So I'm going to try to start off awfully light with these guys. Let's see, there's the line of white. And it comes down here underneath his chin. Something like that. That's the highlight. And then we can paint the rest of him. Don't need to worry about that black part. He's got a tail up there which has a nice gray bit to it. I know we can do that part. And then I'm going to warm it up as he comes down on his belly down here. Maybe this has got a reflection from some sand under there that we're not really noticing. And let's do this. I think his tail is, there we go, and a little gray to come in. There we go. I think he's got a little reflection of the beach that he's standing on right there. So I'm going to give that to him. And because we left this white of his on his face and on the top of his breast here, I think that we are going to have to paint a little background on him, which is fine. It's all good. We can do that. Just had that orange color left over. I'm gonna there we go. There's his beak. And that was simple. They're getting easier as we're getting towards the end. So I get a little water on my board here. Okay, here we go. Let's go back up to the top. Take a look at our, where's he at? I guess he should be close to the bottom here, right? Here he is. Our pelican again. And I'm going to do a little bit on this wing on the underside. Still got a bit of that orange. So I've still got some of that left. I'm going to water it down right now. We can probably put on here something like that, and then this wing is gonna, I don't know, kind of turns a lot of similar colors. It's got some blue in it here, and then right into gray. And I've been working with the Payne's gray, so I think I'm going to stick with it. Let's see, is that dry? Is that dry? You know what, that's not quite the right color for me. I'm going to add a little bit of that neutral tint. And I hope you can see, as soon as I added a little bit of that neutral tint, it really changed the color of it. The neutral tint is, well, it's in the center of the color wheel. It's a pretty neutral color. But it does, it's much more purplish than is Payne's gray, which already has a bit of a blue bias, I think, to it. So the two of them together gives us a little bit of a different color of gray. Where's your head at, Mr. Seagull? Let's make sure we get your whole head in there. All right, I can live with that. That doesn't look, well, let me add just a little bit more here. Come on, come on. Might be a bit much, but that's okay. Oh, I just dented his head. We'll leave it. We'll leave it. I fear that if I play with it and try and get it back, it's going to be even worse than it is now. Normally I would flip the page all around, and I know that that sometimes is tough if you're trying to view it, to have somebody flipping a page all over. Okay, so we have that wing. I'm going to just kind of draw in a couple of bigger feathers here. Not that you'll see them much, but this will give a little bit of definition to those wings, those big, massive feathers. Here we go, and I don't know if anybody can't hear this on the video, but it has just started raining. So, I don't know how that's going to affect the watercolor paper. This will be an interesting experiment. We're just going to go with it and see what happens. All right, this guy's got a little bit, his bill is a little bit redder in here in a couple of places. I come on this side, it's a little easier to do a pull stroke for me. And maybe he's got a little bit under here too, something like that. We can go and put some fine details on that bill in just a minute. I'm going to let this dry just a touch. There we go. I'm okay with that. And I know that he's got... I'm not going to do much more with his head, so I'm going to go ahead and put some of this modeling on here. I'm going to need that to be a little darker. I can tell it's too light now, so I know it's going to be too light when it dries. There we go. I'm going to leave that about like that. I think that's pretty good. Just a few marks and lines in there. And I think if I just give him a little bit of shadow underneath his arm here, we won't have to do too much to the rest of him. We'll put a few details on. What do we got? Something about like that. There you go. Just something to define where that wing comes into his body. Yeah, I like that. I like that. So all of a sudden that did set that off that little bit. We could even, depending on how brave I am, give a little bit of color up here just to show. Let's see if I lay this down a little bit, just to show that there's some definition. It's very light. I don't like to have to go back. I don't know why my paper's being goofy today. I'm just gonna dab some of this blue on here. It's a blue gray. That same puddle that we've been pulling from. I think that's going to help. I think that's going to help with the body shape here a little bit. We'll see how that looks when it dries up. All right, so let's come back to our seagull here. Where's our seagull? Let's take a look at our seagull. All right, I need to darken some in his wing here. I see that. Underneath is, I think, okay, and obviously some work on his beak. So I'm going to start on his beak because, well, just because. I'm going to give it a little bit darker underneath. Maybe his nose hole. Something like that. I don't think we need to do too much with it. The sun on him is coming from up here, so I think that probably it's all on the top of that beak right there. Let's see, seagull wing has a spot that comes up kind of like this, and another from down here. And these do need a little bit of blending. It's a nice and clean brush. A little bit here. Clean it again. little bit here. We can even extend that all the way up just to that other one. And if you want to add a little bit of color to that, you can dab a little bit of blue in there. I think it's a good option. Just a tiny little bit. And there you go. Now we've got two nice wings on him. He's coming into shape. I'm gonna darken up my orange mixture just a little bit. I'm gonna drop his legs in here. I don't know if this has got this quite right. I don't know that it matters if we've got it exactly right. Drop a little water. Move this up so you can see it a little bit better. I'm just gonna I want it a little pinker, a little redder than that. All right, I don't want to do too much more than that. I know he's got bigger feet and they stick out a little bit more. I think if I do more, they're already a little darker than I want. I think if I did a whole lot more on those, he'd end up looking at his legs the whole time. I don't want you to look at his legs the whole time. I want you to look at his body the whole time. Okay, that's not bad. I am going to put this red little ball, some of them have right under there, and he is just about done. I'm going to leave him pretty much like that. We might go and put in indication of a feather or two here and there, but for the most part I think he's pretty much done, minus an eye, which I'm going to come back and get in a little bit. Let's move over to this guy over here who definitely looks like he needs a little help. Of course, it would have helped had I got a little better picture. Okay, so I don't think his head is that bad. We need to make this a bit rounder, if that's a word, more rounder-ish. So I'm still working in my little puddle here. I'm trying to warm this up. Oh, I've switched over to, I guess this is burnt umber. I've switched over to burnt umber. That's a nice warm gray right there. Let's give him a little bit of roundness on his head. I'm going to take away some of that. I want it a little darker on that outside. I took away too much. I'm going to put that back in nice and dark right now. Okay, and I'm just going to go with some straight ultramarine right underneath here as a counter. I'm going to get that as like a shadow underneath his chin there. There we go, and I need to get one. I need to have something down here. Oh, I don't need to, I want to differentiate just a bit between his neck and his wing. So again, I'm just going to use some ultramarine. I hope you guys can see that. Just like that. I'm going to warm up underneath down here just a bit. Put that on, and I'm going to take it right back off. Well, I'm not going to take it off. I'm going to spread it around a little bit. There we go. Now, you guys are watching. If any of you use these mop brushes like this one, you have my undying respect. I love these brushes, but man, are they finicky. and you can see mine is bent all over in crazy angles. As I try to take a little bit of water off of it, it doesn't ever quite come back to, I shouldn't say it doesn't. It takes the shape of whatever I've tapped it on. I happen to be holding a little a napkin right here. So when I tap it on its side, it pushes over and then does that, and then you got to turn the brush, which makes it totally frustrating. But I love these brushes so much. They hold so much water. They're so fun to use that I feel like I need to learn how to use this brush. And I think that in the, I don't know, I've been using these 8 months, well, almost a year, I guess, almost a year. I feel like I've just learned so much more about brush control and water and everything. I'm totally happy that I've started, but whew, some days, I'll tell you. Okay, so let's move down to this little guy down here, and let's see, we need a shadow underneath. I'm mixing, this is ultramarine and burnt umber. It's going to give us, again, a nice warm gray. Boy, I picked all birds that are all gray. Well, except for the pelican, who's got a little bit of color. Honestly, I didn't even notice that when I was when I was drawing these. I was more focused on trying to get the form of these right. I think I did a fair job with the form. I'm just making some random lines on here. Let's see, I'm going to put in a little bit on my tail again. They have that nice long dark line on their tail. I'll do that. And they've got little black legs, so I'm going to give them some legs here. There's the upper leg. And the knee joint, just tapping in a little knot there. And the lower leg, and this guy is, of course, running a little bit. So there's his feet. Come on. This back one's got to be pushing off a little bit. I'll give him a little extra digit there. There we go. Does he have one in the back? Yeah, they have an extra one in the back. What am I? Oh, come on. Come on, give him a foot. Gotta have a real foot. There you go. Let's do that. And while we're here, because I'm not going to do much more on this one, I'm going to try to give him his beak now, too. I need to turn this just a little bit. Her beak is just it's just black. Sticks out there. Where's my picture? Let's see. Well, it's not brilliant. You know what I don't like about it is it's so much darker than the rest of the painting. Let's take a little bit off of there. I think that's better, having taken that little bit off of it. All right, and my friend over here, what can we do with him? He's got a gray wing on here. I'm going to go back with my Payne's gray, and I'm going to keep this pretty standard Payne's gray here. His wing comes down. Something like that. Give him a little zing on the top of that tail. A little something on this one. And I know he's got this crazy hairdo here, which is what drew me to draw him in the first place. There he is, and I do want to make this darker down here. I'm okay with the color of it. It needs to be a bit darker. Oh yeah, there we go. That's darker, all right. And I'm just gonna let that blend out a little bit. It's gonna do most of everything on its own. I think that looks a lot better. I need now, I can tell you while I'm looking at it, I can tell you what we need. We need something on the side of his head. Darken that up right in through here. Something to differentiate his head from the rest of his body. It doesn't need to be a lot. There you see, it's not a lot, just a little, basically a dark patch there is all that is. And we can't see what his legs are like, but they look like they're pretty dark. So I'm going to mix a little bit of Payne's Gray and neutral tint. Oh, this guy's nice enough to be standing in the water for us. I don't have to paint any feet. I like that. There he is. I can paint some water on him right now. Let's see. I'm going to get a little... Let's just do this. Oop. Too much water. Come on. I can see it starting to drip. There you go. He's standing right in the water. We can tell that. Perfect. I like that. I made it easy. Thank you. All right. We do need to fix his beak here. Let's see. Fix his beak. Not fix his beak. Finish his beak. We need to finish his beak. I'm sorry, Mr. Bird. We didn't need to say that we had anything wrong with your beak. Just not quite done. I think that might just about do it. I'll put a line down there. I'm going to put his eye in, and we'll call that good for him. Hey, this guy. Look at our legs on this guy. Let's come back and find what they are. Hey, what a surprise. They're gray. They're gray legs. All right, good. So same thing. A little neutral tint, a little ultramarine. Oh, this guy's standing in the water too. I just noticed. That's... Yeah. Let's see. Get a little bit of that moisture out of it. I will say, if you use these brushes, or you're thinking about using these brushes, because they're made out of a soft hair, normally squirrel on these. This one is a squirrel and synthetic mix, but man, do they ever come to a nice point. You can... Well, that was a little heavy on my part, wasn't it? Let's make all of it a little bit heavy. There you go. He's standing in the water too. These come to such a nice sharp point. Even the big ones. I don't know if I've shown anybody. I did show everybody in a earlier video, I'm sure, but boy, even his big ones, if you get them wet, they just come to such a nice point. I hope you guys can see that. It's a fantastic point, even on the big ones. Okay, so we got mostly, we're done here, but we've got we've got this guy to finish up. Okay, we can do that. Let's see. Now that everything's wet down here, you know what? While I'm waiting for this stuff to dry on this side, let's ground these guys a little bit, huh? What do you think? This guy's running along the sand. Hard surface, straight lines. We could put a little bit of a shadow underneath there. Whoops. I'll just drop in a little bit of blue to indicate that might be a bit of a shadow. And all of a sudden he's running across the ground. He's off. And let's do the same thing with the seagull. I don't know what the seagull is standing. I don't know what any of them are standing on. I kind of stopped looking at the picture. That's a great thing to admit, isn't it? What I'm not doing is just painting a solid background back there. I don't want to paint a solid color because then people start to think that, oh, it's, you need to paint everything all the way up if you've started that, and if you're going to do that, then you got to paint up here and this and that. And I found that you can get away with a bit of not painting a full background just by, I guess, what I'm calling grounding my subject, just painting just a little bit there. So you'll look at that and you'll go, oh, he's standing on some kind of surface. Oh, he's running on the beach. Maybe there's a little shine on it or something. He's standing in the water. You can see the reflection of it. And I don't have to be concerned about painting a sky and a full background and everything. And that's not the kind of painting I'm doing here anyways. This is more of a practice painting, something just to have fun with. So I'm not going to do that. I still need to wait for this to dry. I can tell that that's a little bit wet before I put my arm over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this is a number 3 sable brush. I'm going to attempt to paint in some eyes. Well, the eyes are tough because the eyes are really going to give a lot of character to whatever we're painting. Immediately when you put the eyes in, you bring out the character of whatever you're painting. So they're always a bit tricky. So I gave this guy a nice round eye, and now he looks alert and lively and ready to jump and run around. And if you give it a little different eye, this one's a little bit more elongated. This guy looks like he's more business all of a sudden. Right? He's ready to go and grab I don't know, French fries out of somebody's lunch tray, I guess. Let's see, I gave this guy kind of a big eye there. That might be a little too big, but that's okay. Let me just move this a little bit so I can get in here. And I'm going to paint his bill in also. Just grab it and pull it. I've got these beautiful long bills. There we go. That's all I need to do for that one. And I love painting eyes on seagulls because they really get expressive. I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to do anything more. And all of a sudden, he's got a personality now. Who did I say I needed to fix his beak? That guy. Let's do this. I'm not gonna get totally away from my red. I'm gonna take a little bit of my red and put it into my gray-ish mixture here, and I'm just gonna give a line There we go. Now we know. Now we know where's beak is at. Okay, and it's still a little bit wet. I'm gonna try to get back up here, do some details. Where's the picture of our pelican? There it is. Well, I know that I need a line. You know, my hand's not quite steady enough right now. I'm gonna grab a rigger, and I'm gonna get our orange paint. I'm gonna gray it down a little bit, and I'm gonna pull a line. Right there. And I'm also going to put one. Where do I go to not? Underneath here. I found that if you do it really fast, sometimes it works the best. Let's see, what kind of marks can I give him right up here? I want to do something to differentiate. We can get a really soupy mixture here, and not put my hand in somewhere. Should make it more yellow. Let me dab that off. Make that more yellow. I want this guy to come out real nice. So I'm going to take a little extra time here. There we go. So I just want to make sure I've got some differentiation in here between where his eye is at, and the skin on his eye and everything around it. I don't want that to get mixed up with his bill. So that's what I'm doing, and then I'm just gonna kind of let that flow out everywhere else. And then we can put some detail on his bill. He's got some big kind of marks on there. Something like that. I'm not wild about all of those. I'm okay with color. You know what? Maybe I need to see what his eye looks like to know exactly what to do. Let's paint that in. I don't have any water in there. I shouldn't have any water in that area. There we go. Now he's got an eye. Now he's got a personality. You know what? I actually like how this turned out over here. I don't know if I can lift that up and you can see that. I actually like how that turned out. Really helps to add to it. I don't know that I want to do too much more. I'm afraid that if I do a whole lot more to him, I'm going to end up screwing him up. I think I'm going to end my practice session with my little birds here, right there. I don't know how long I ran today. Probably went a little longer than I thought it was going to. I had a great time painting with you guys tonight. Here it is. There's all my birds. Thanks for stopping by the studio. If you liked the video, subscribe. I'm going to try to do one practice session, kind of a collage thing that I'm working on each week, and then work in a live video at the end of the week. If you want to see any of that, stop back and see me. If we don't see each other until next time, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.